Good afternoon. I call to order this regular meeting of the Carrabelle Community Redevelopment Agency. It's Tuesday, August 16, 2022, 1:30 p.m. We're conducting this meeting in the Carrabelle City Hall chambers, and thank you all for silencing your phones. Commissioner Allen, will you open our meeting with a prayer, and then I will lead with the Pledge of Allegiance, and please stand.
Our God and Father in heaven, we're so grateful that we have this beautiful city that you've given us, and that we ask you to be with us that we might preserve it and do that which would be best for our community and for the people at large that come through here. And we ask you to be with us today in our meeting, that we'll do that which is right and best for our community and would be in harmony with your will. And we ask this in the name of the Son that you sent us, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ms. Keisha, would you do the roll call, please?
Got Ms. Chase Chisholm. Here. Commissioner Brown. Here. Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Mayor LaPaz.
Here.
Commissioner Walden.
Here.
And Commissioner Millender.
Here.
Okay. All right, and let the record show that our city clerk, Ms. Keisha, is here, city administrator, Ms. Dempsey, Mr. Russell Large with Innovia, and our city attorney, Mr. Harper. We have, yes, and we have some members of the public here, and Mr. Ray Messer with our landscape maintenance district. We have first on the agenda approval of the minutes for July 19, 2022, the CRA regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion regarding that? Did everyone have a chance to review?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, and that motion for the minutes to approve is by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Millender. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. Thank you. This is the time for public comment for any items that are not on this agenda. If there's anyone in the public that would like to speak on an item on this agenda, you may come to the podium at this time under public comment for 3 minutes to speak. And we have no one in the audience that would like to speak, so we'll move on to staff reports, and we have our CRA Director.
Okay, our facade grants, 304 Highway 98, Mr. Skinner is working on that. I know he's been in touch with Keisha, so he is getting it done. 305 Northwest 12th Street, they did call and request that they can't get the garage door in time, and they can have someone come and install it. You know, they were buying the materials and doing all the work themselves. And they can have someone that comes and installs it. They have them installed, but they have to do the installation. And so they were requesting $1,000 more. And I went ahead and approved that. They were not at their $16,000. I think they were right under $13,000. So they're going to be asking for another $1,000. The Moorings, they have completed that job and turned in all their paperwork for reimbursements, and Miranda should be getting the check ready for that probably next week. Messer Pavilion, Chester says that they are done with the outhouse building, which is the restroom building, and that they have a good start on the pavilion. So they're working on that. I spoke with or emailed with Danny Collins with Duke Energy, and somehow that project had fallen behind, but now they're back up on top of it, and so they're going to be getting the Ave B alleyway wiring completed. Sands Park recreational equipment has been ordered and should be here next week.
And the old was removed.
The old one was removed, all except for the slide and the swing set that still looked pretty good. I mean, even the swing set, we may have to replace the seats, but the structure looked good. So we took everything out of there. Hopefully before next week, Dustin's going to have the inmates get in there and spray the weeds really good and try to churn up the mulch. I think we have plenty of mulch in there. I think it's just the weeds that are growing on top of it and kind of spreading along the surface. But if they get in there and they get it sprayed and churned up, I think it'll look better. That's all I
Okay,
have.
and the company you purchased the equipment from, they will do the installation, that's correct?
Yes, well, they're already put together. Dustin, I have to anchor them down, but he'll bring the pieces already complete.
Okay, all right. How many pieces did you get?
He's bringing a trailer load, and we're gonna get the pick out of the trailer. So depending on what pieces we pick, somewhere between 10 and 15.
Oh, wow.
And it's the same company that we had down there before, because he already had them in stock. We tried to go with Pro Playgrounds, and the materials to build, they were having a hard time getting the materials to build them, and it was gonna be a lot longer. And I know we've had a lot of issues and people commenting on this, so we felt like we just needed to get it done as quickly as possible. And I did save back some money to, we'll get some of this equipment. It's the same stuff that was there, but it'll be brand new. But we saved back some money to get some additional different pieces, so it don't feel like we just put the same old stuff back in there.
Good, thank you for working on that.
And what was the date on that?
He didn't give me a day. He told me last week after next, so it should be next week.
Okay.
But he would call me and let me know when he's coming. They're right there in Alabama. He has a trailer. He loads up the whole trailer and takes it around, and you can pick your items off of it.
Okay.
And I just want to remind you all that I brought this to you back in January. I brought this to you that we needed this playground equipment. It's taken that long for us. Well, we decided in July, this board did, to go ahead and let Courtney purchase, because we were kicking it back and forth, waiting on to see if the county would fund or help fund.
And then it did take a couple of weeks to get quotes and to go back and forth with the different companies. So, it didn't get ordered the day after the meeting, but
Yeah, we probably should have ordered it immediately, and just don't even wait on the county. But anyway,
That's in the spirit of trying to
yeah, but
utilize money wisely, so.
it doesn't work that way in the real world.
But we do that on
Yeah,
a regular basis.
I know we do it. That's the way we operate.
Yep.
So I want to have a motion to ratify, to approve Courtney's approval on the $1,000 on the garage door request at 305 Northwest 12th Street.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
That was Chase. Okay, that motion to ratify Courtney's approval on the garage door request for $1,000 on Northwest 12th Street by Commissioner Melander, second by Commissioner Chisholm. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you all. Anything else for Courtney? Okay. All right, next we move to the city attorney.
All right, on the water plant deed, I'll get that to Courtney right at the end of the meeting. We can sign that today and get that recorded. On the amendments to the plan, my apologies, I'll get those, at least a draft done for everybody to review within the next 10 days. We'll have that.
Okay. Do we have anything for Mr. Hartman?
well, I think another addition to the plan, I know you have them changes, but we want to add in there that the CRA will help take care of the cemetery, the portion that's in the CRA district.
Yes. We just learned this morning, I did, that if we're going to take care of cemeteries or any portion thereof or historic cemeteries, it needs to be in the plan.
Good point.
All right. Anything else for Mr. Hartman? Okay, we're moving right along here. We'll move to the CRA District Landscape Maintenance Report. Mr. Brad Messer.
Good afternoon.
You need to turn that on.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. No, some of the places, 4th Street boat ramp, Avenue C, I guess it is, that parking lot there. I've sprayed them a couple times, and as soon as I spray it rains, I've slacked up on spray until after the rain, because it's just, it's not lasting. We sprayed some yesterday on on Young Main Street on 98, some of the flower beds and stuff that's got weeds in them. And the For the mollusk grass I mean you talked about, I think I need about 11, but they don't have none in stock right now. So when I go to Tallahassee, I'll check and see.
There was some additional muley grass that needed to be replaced that had died on it.
But I had checked on it. They didn't have none in stock. They had the white, but everything else is purple. So. Other than that, anything y'all needs done? Or?
At this moment.
You got that?
All right.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's it. We're moving right along here. We have new business. Item number 1, discussion and possible action regarding temporary closure of the building facade and site improvement grant offer until the next fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2022. And Ms. Courtney and I talked about this. It's so late in the year that it would be difficult for someone to complete a project by the end of the fiscal year, and this will give us a better idea of what monies we will be carrying forward, and we won't have to deny someone, you know, an application. We can just say that it's closed for the year and it'll be open again in October.
I'll motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have that motion by Commissioner Brown for temporary closure of the building facade and site improvement grant until October 1st. And the second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, old business, we have none. So we'll move right on to the Inovia Consulting Group projects. Item 1, the Marine Street Revitalization Project Progress Report, discussion and possible action, if any recommended changes.
I've contacted Fred Fox's office, and there's no word still on the environmental document approval. So still waiting for that approval. So no action at this time.
We did do the advertisement for release of funds, and
Okay.
that has happened.
We had the approval at once, and then Miss Melissa, I think, she wrote back and said, uh-oh, we didn't advertise. And so that's
I see.
what, they sent me a note, come in and sign, ready to roll, and then they realized they hadn't advertised, so that
Okay.
was maybe 3 weeks or a month ago. But we had some discussions regarding the Marine Street, this project, during our budget workshop, and Commissioner Millender had a good suggestion that I think we want to try to see if Russell can give us not today, but some kind of an idea, instead of that fencing material that's out there now on the seawall. This is very expensive. That stainless steel, I believe it is. Is that-
Yes, Russell, I think I mentioned it before, quite a while back, that when this project, and I don't know if and I don't think we are at specifics yet in details, but replacing that attractive looking fence, which is not very strong, but it's very attractive. When we replace it with stainless steel tubing, if we can, have no idea. I know it's probably gonna be an expense thing, but, and anchor it very well into that concrete where we don't have this issue of a loose fence all the time. And something that's very durable and will be long lasting.
Right. So you're referring to something like the DOT style.
Something similar to that, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, like you might see it, well, you see it around in Tallahassee a lot over bridges, walkways, you know, it's the stainless steel, it's like almost like one unit that was made to fit.
Right.
Yeah, there's
Manufactured for the location.
There's quite a bit of it being installed now south of Panacea along that new bike path.
Yes.
Yeah, quite a bit of it being installed there now.
Right. Okay.
And I like that as well, you know, if it works out that we can afford that, you know, we were tossing around how much money we were gonna have on the CDBG. We think after all fees and costs are paid, administrative style fees, we'll probably end up with about 550,000. And we haven't approved the budget yet, but we've added some more money to that amount in our tentative budget. So that, you know, I mean, for instance, the light fixtures, we had several years ago, 3 years ago, 80,000 to do, 78,000 to do replace. Now that's probably 100. So we're all concerned, you know, about what the project's gonna cost. And you had said that they were set up in priorities or unmet needs, and so we're not compelled to do every project, but we'd like to.
That's right. I mean,
Yeah.
you can spend money up to the point that you don't want to spend more than that. But, you know, based on the items that fit within the budget.
Mhm. Okay. And I know we have in that budget the gateway.
Right.
But I almost think I like the fencing better than the gateway.
Mhm.
I think it's more, I mean, the gateway is nice, but it's not needed.
Right.
And our budget has gotten so narrow now, we've got to make some decisions. Our decisions have to be more now of what is needed.
Right. On the fence, I would just say, I would recommend that we install a picket style fence, and DOT makes that picket style fence, so it's got vertical pieces in it, and it's spaced so that a child can't fit through it or climb it. I think that would be important from a liability standpoint, that the city install that type. But now it is a stainless steel tube at the top and on the sides, but in the middle it's got a vertical picket.
Yes, I think that's what you.
Exactly, that's kind of what I was thinking already, Russell.
All right, good.
And very similar to that style, but out of that type of material, which would be extremely durable and long-lasting.
Right. Okay.
Okay, item 2, progress regarding, was there anything else on this item? Okay. Progress regarding the Southeast 5th Street, Southeast Avenue D paving, change orders to include, and there's quite a few there that I won't list, but we've been over those projects already.
Right. I was told a few weeks back that they would be mobilizing. They have not as yet on this additional work. I know that the 9th Street project has, they've had some issues there with erosion, and they've had to go back several times and rebuild the edge, and put down riprap and try to get that side slope stabilized. And just the constant rain has just caused an issue for them there. In fact, they have submitted a change order for additional work related to that issue, erosion control. So what I've done with that, we do have a CEI on board here, so I forwarded that to him, and that's the correct chain of command here. They need to provide their recommendation for that change order. The amount of the change order is $14,300. And that includes the riprap. They had to rebuild the side slopes, so there was about 3 days worth of regrading that they had to do. And then on the riprap, they're going to pour flowable fill. It's like a loose concrete that riprap will set up and stay in place. It won't move or erode. So that's where we are. I'll wait for the recommendation to come back from the CEI on that change order, and I'll bring that to you.
Well, we need to, will it be a month before you get that recommendation, or?
No, I would expect we would get that relatively quickly here. I'd say within a week.
Just trying to figure out about the money.
Yeah.
Can we postpone a decision on it, because you may want a decision from us today on whether or not Courtney will let y'all move ahead with this on the $14,300.
Yes.
Okay,
And they submitted this change order after the fact, so they did the work. The work is done.
oh, they did the work
The work
already?
is done,
Oh,
I've noticed the work.
yeah.
how does it look?
I just glanced at it, it was actually raining forward
Oh.
when I went by. And I noticed the riprap that had been put there, but I didn't look at the details and how you described it with the material that was spread out to hold the riprap. I didn't get a chance to stop and look at that. It was raining hard when I came by, but I noticed the riprap that was put there. But yes, it has. It's washed out on them several times during construction, so.
Does it seem like, it's working? You probably haven't been back by since.
And I didn't go by there today, but when I do come down there, I go and check on it. And it appears that it's working.
I go down that street all the time, and I think it's helped. I mean, when they were first did it, and it was raining, it was washing all the dirt down to the bottom towards Gulf Avenue. I mean, you couldn't even see the road, it looked like it was still dirt road, but now it's much better.
At one point.
And they were out there yesterday, so they're still been out.
Mhm. Good.
Courtney, do you have the expense to budget?
Honestly,
Okay, can you kind of look over that? Can we vote on this after we review our expense to budget?
Certainly.
Okay. And then, Courtney, look and see what you think about it while we're going through the rest of the meeting here, and see, we were planning on some of these funds we calculated would be carried forward, but we had thought maybe, that there would be more to be carried forward, because we don't think we're gonna be spending all that, but we'll get to, if you can just go ahead and
I
get
don't know
it.
if I have the expense to budget, but I do have our projected 21-22 projected year-end revenues and
Okay.
expenditures, so that kind of gives us an idea. Like right now, we've got 166,000 left in there.
In that line item, but they haven't done
Not
any
in
of
that
those
line
projects.
item, not that line item,
Okay.
that's, total at the end.
After we spend everything,
After we spend that.
but we were counting on that money to roll forward.
Look on Sunday the 14th.
Yeah, I probably already put it in the folder, it's not on this.
I'm gonna, oh,
Do you have it?
I can forward it, but I can't open the attachment.
Are you looking for the expense to budget?
Yes.
Oh, well, I have it here, I'll pass it to you, and you can look at it on a hard copy if you want, but I want it back. Here, pass that down to her. and let
Did you
her-
say the 14th?
Uh-huh. Okay. All right, so we'll move forward on the next project. If that's okay, is there anything else on this for now? All right. Okay, and so then we have the military service flagpole memorial at Veterans Park, the progress on that, discussion and possible action if any changes, and we had asked you to bring back 3 quotes. So if you can report
Yes,
to-
I did speak with 3 contractors who were willing to bid the project. As recently as this past Thursday, one of the contractors backed out, and he had a sub-consultant that just couldn't get to it. Just couldn't do it. And then the third was basically unresponsive, so that leaves us with 1. And I did forward this to Courtney, if you're able to bring it up, but this updated quote is from the same contractor that bid it before. And this was broken down into pieces, and
I didn't get
all right.
that. Oh, wait, maybe I did.
Duggar, yeah. So we had 2 additive alternatives. One was the sidewalk on the side that was going to be at some future date. And the second was the raised block seat walls. That was a big ticket item, so we pulled it out as an additive alternate. So the sum total here with everything included is $98,000. Their previous bid, without this separated, was $91,000. But I just had a thought here. If you look at the top two items, the first is the brick pavers and the flagpole installation at $25,830. And the second item is relocating the electrical service, installing the equipment rack and the in-ground light fixtures and conduit so that the lights work. That would be $22,140, so that's a total of $47,970 for those two items. That does not include the landscaping or the irrigation. But if the landscaping and sod and irrigation were to be included, that would be $66,420. But I thought it might be within the budget here to do the top two items at $47,970.
Well, if we don't do the irrigation, that could even cost more later if they have to go under what we're putting down.
Right. Otherwise, they'd have to go around it somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
Commissioner?
I cannot read the numbers, Russell, on that bench. You said it was a expensive item.
Right.
What was the price on that?
$26,138.
For just that bench?
And the Pentagon.
Well, it's the Pentagon.
It's the Pentagon,
Right.
But that and the brick pavers is how much?
$25,830.
If we did everything except the seat and the raised block Pentagon, would be, I think, with my pencil, $72,260. If we did the pavers, the electrical service, landscaping, and sidewalk. Now, the sidewalk would be concrete and not pavers.
Right.
And that, I just did it with my pencil here, $72,260. And then could the raised block seat, the seat wall, and the raised block Pentagon come back and be done later?
Sure could, yeah.
Everything else underground would be in place. Actually, I was thinking, and I've run this thing through my mind 100 times during lunch. At least back off to with the seating and try to get the rest of the project in place, especially and I'm asking for some advice from Russell here as the engineer on doing that instead of trying to piecemeal, do what we can afford and go forward where we don't have to come back and tear ground up. And if that seating could be added later, we'd hold up on that.
Yes.
It's just my thought.
And it can.
Now, the brick pavers, they actually go around the circle, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And to make sure I'm on target, or I understand correctly, we would be including the entire project as you have described, the entire project with the exception of the seat.
The seat walls, yes.
Which would reduce it 20 what?
$26,138.
$26,000.
Does that include the underground utilities, moving the underground utilities?
Yes.
And the landscaping?
Yes.
And the sod?
Yes.
Irrigation?
Irrigation as well.
Exactly.
We need a motion to,
Okay, so, but I didn't calculate that with a calculator, so that's $72,260.
72, what was it?
But I'm just asking, they've got their, I don't have anything to calculate with here.
72,260.
$72,260. And that's everything except the raised block seat wall and the pentagon, raised pentagon.
72,260.
Okay. And then we have a price there that when we do our budget next year, we can calculate that $25,000 to $30,000 to do those, raise the seat wall
Yeah,
next
if
year.
prices doesn't continue to go up, because from the first time we've received, or Russell received bids, it's gone up.
Yeah, well, last month he reported it would be 88,000. Now, he says it's 91 to do it all, to do the whole thing.
91?
Well, 98.
That's what I'm gonna say, that's what I thought I heard you say.
But 98 is if we break it up. I thought you said 91 is if we do it all at once.
No, I'm sorry, his previous bid was 91 for everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Oh, my
this
goodness.
bid is now,
Jumped $7,000.
right, this bid is now 98 for everything.
Governments aren't going to be able to function if all this
No,
continues.
That's right.
I'm not feeling bad for myself or the CRA. I'm just saying we're in a predicament. All right.
I have one other question to Russell,
Okay.
Mayor. Russell, to add Space Force flagpole, can we just increase that circle? With that, wait a minute, don't misunderstand me, I don't want to go to a lot of money. Can we increase that circle and add that one?
Basically, we'll be moving the flagpoles, not increasing the paver limits.
Right,
Right?
right.
Okay.
Is that doable, pretty simple?
I think it is.
Courtney, can you show us a picture of that?
Well, what do we need to
Conceptual.
have a little statue man for it too?
That's
Oh,
what's gonna be more difficult.
Don't talk to me.
Hey, folks,
All or none.
I'm trying to work here.
And plus the brass, we've got there's no room on the original memorial wall. You know, we're just updating, we're updating the,
My vote's still
I
the
think-
same with,
Okay.
there's no Space Force veterans, and this is a veteran park.
And I do agree with you, Commissioner, with that respect, except that is now a part of the military.
it is.
Whether it is. And it is arguable, I guess it would be arguable, but I'm not trying to argue, but I just thought about the point that we do have space people that are veterans, to some extent. They didn't actually fight for our country, if you will, but they contributed to a lot of learning. So anyway, I think while we're at this point, that we should consider it if we're not gonna complicate this project and delay it any longer.
Yeah, I'd have to go back to the drawing board and architectural, but we can order a flagpole.
We can, and that's the reason why I was asking Russell from an architectural standpoint and from the engineer's standpoint, is this doable reasonably without expense?
Do you have one that shows the flag layout there?
Seems like all you'd be doing is spreading them out a little bit, or
You
tightening
and
them
I
up.
were thinking on the
Tighten
same
them up a
thing
little
line,
bit.
Greg, but
Oh yeah, what about the flag though,
Oh,
You
there
know-
was one that was had colors to it. It was a colored one.
Yeah, go back one.
I'll put that on my Facebook page.
Right. Yeah, that one. And you can see the limit of the flag.
because actually, the Space Force had been mentioned several months ago.
Well, actually,
In the beginning.
I had to look it up. It was May 18th.
Yeah.
I mentioned it a year ago, in 2021.
That's what I say.
Mhm.
And I thought Greg was the one that brought it up.
The one thing we need to consider too is there'll be an extra light fixture. And not all amount of wire, but the electrical.
Would the flags interfere with each other then if they're closer together?
Yeah, that's my concern. I think we'd have to spread them out. So how can we do that?
I would say we could take this sidewalk and connect it in straight,
Mhm.
and then take this flag and move it
Mhm.
to the corner. I don't want it to be, not symmetrical, but if we took that flag and moved it here, you know, maybe we can do something similar on this end and connect the sidewalk, you know, along this edge to provide some room to spread this out.
Mhm.
You follow me?
Oh, yeah. And they wouldn't go into the main patio from there.
From
They-
the side, they would go
Uh-huh.
in from the
Mhm.
front. You follow that,
Mhm.
Commissioner?
I do. And again, I'm being a layman in simple terms and asking for your professional direction. Can we do this without changing the project and costing us a lot of money?
Well, it will change it some, but.
Well, minimum.
Yeah,
Minimum,
minimal.
yeah.
Mhm.
Right. And we'll use less concrete,
If you go straight on at
it
it.
goes straight on,
Mhm.
but then we may
Need more on the other
There may be
side.
more on this side, so that might be a wash. So we got an extra light fixture. And then,
Extra flagpole.
and then the pole installation, you can see it's a flat pole. So I don't see that as a big expense.
What would you say as a big expense?
So like 5,000?
I'm not gonna hold you to it, Russ.
Okay.
Well, I haven't been doing very good recently with cost estimates,
Well, bless your heart.
but I can't imagine that's gonna be any more than $1,000. I just can't imagine.
I'd probably say
2?
6, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
that's what
I drove 5 or 6.
Okay.
And, I mean, I can't even figure out how much I'm gonna spend at the grocery store. Greg, I wanted to ask you, you looked it up this afternoon, what is a veteran?
You have to be honorably discharged or not dishonorably discharged to be a veteran. But you can't, I would say that you really wouldn't know if anyone who was in the Space Force is now a veteran, because someone could have retired since the time that they switched people over, and they could be a Space Force veteran. I wouldn't know for sure if there are any or not.
But they have to complete their service.
You have to complete your service. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And that started, it was established December the 30th, I think, 2019, and it was effective 2020, January.
So there could be some, I'm sure, if someone retired. I don't know what they're gonna do around the country though, because you've got 5 emblem memorials everywhere. And now you're gonna make them
That's why
6.
we're like St. Joe, you know.
Well,
and-
I didn't want to bring it back up, but the one over Mexico or St. Joe Beach, it's 5.
Yeah,
And that was underway when, I mean, it was under construction when that happened, so.
Yeah.
But I really, you know, I hate to, you know, we haven't broken ground and we know better now. On the little soldiers and the bronze plaques, I mean, that is something that's already done.
Well, that's
You
the
know,
reason why I brought it up, is because I would love to move, and I said this earlier this morning, I would love to move forward with the project. And I'd like to, I said this in the beginning when we started this conversation, I think it's gonna add a lot of respect to our veterans and to our military service. And I think at nighttime lit up, it's gonna be a beautiful display for our city. That's just my opinion, and I'd like to move on with it. We beat it, and I know money's a concern, I'm not ignoring that. But I would love to move on with it, and I'd love for us to do it in the right fashion. Now,
You know, if we could do that for, I mean, first of all, the landscape architect, the drawings that were done, wasn't that much. It didn't cost, I mean, I wasn't shocked, so I'm sure it can be altered somewhat. There'll be a fee, but it won't blow us out of the water. Lighting, electrical, that's already somewhat done, even with the electrical engineering that you had done. So, I would say it's probably gonna be more like $5,000 or $6,000.
What was the figure, Mayor? You had 72 what?
72,260. Okay.
What money did we talk about at our budget meeting this morning?
90.
Yeah, I think it was 9.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that we proceed with this project. Also include the Space Force unit and give Russell the flexibility of not, I'll give the project no more expansion than $5,000 additional at this time, because we're gonna have to purchase the flagpole. And that would put us up to 77,000 some odd dollars.
77,260.
So I'll make that motion that we move forward with that project.
But if it's more than that, can he go ahead and just order it as we have it?
I
I'm
hope.
having a hard time getting that motion there before we go too deep into the motion.
I'm gonna make my motion is to move forward with the project.
Okay.
At 77,000
260.
260 to include the Space Force unit under our engineer's direction. The complete project as described with the exception of the benching. Did that cover? That cover you guys? Okay. So that's my motion.
So if it's more than that, do we have to wait till next month and we vote? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
If there's additional here, Mayor, you help us out, but I'm thinking, Courtney, to you too, and Keisha, if there's additional funding needed, it would have to come back to us. Because Russell could actually go ahead and start the project with the motion that we have on the table.
Well, if it's
I
already
think I'd go
budgeted,
up to 80.
Excuse me?
I think I would go up to 80 then.
just to give us a little more flexibility.
I'll amend my motion to 80,000. Max.
And that's with the exception of the raised bench walls.
Is that, and that's the complete project with the exception of that, is that right, Russell?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, so we have this motion here to proceed with the project to include the Space Force unit under the engineer's discretion with the exception of the raised bench walls at a cost of $80,000 maximum. Is that right, Commissioner Melander?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that motion is by Commissioner Melander?
I'll second it.
Okay. And the second was Ms. Chase Chisholm. Now, is there further discussion? Mr. Russell, is that okay with you?
One quick question. Yes. The flagpole that the city would purchase, do we know the dollar amount for that?
Courtney, do we still have the prices for those we purchased?
I'm just curious.
Of course, I'm sure they've changed.
I just want to make sure,
I do.
Look it
We
up
got
and double it.
We got the 6 flagpoles. Somebody wants to divide for $11,352.
So that'll be about 2,000.
Yeah. And well, that was back on
How much
July.
is shipping?
That included the shipping, and that was on July 19, 2021. And
But
so,
how much would shipping be just for one, you know? 'Cause
I-
we're dividing the shipping by 6 at this point.
I don't know, I think that the shipping was a standard rate, and that's why we ordered.
A freight rate. Yeah.
Uh-huh,
Correct.
So we're gonna have to pay that freight rate for one is what I'm saying.
Yes.
most likely.
So it would be more than 2,000.
Somewhere around in there, it will be more.
Or if I remember right, the shipping or the freight shipping was $750. $750.
So that's not bad.
But again, when we ordered, and I had that discussion with the flag pole companies, if you will, vendors, it was the same rate for 4 or 5 than it was for 1,
Right.
because it was 30 foot long.
So it'd be about $3,000 for the flagpole.
All right.
So,
Just want to make sure I've got that in
I
total
think,
cost.
do you wanna, who's ordering the flagpole? You gotta squeeze it in your budget, or?
We'll order them, so we'll order
Okay.
from the same place and make sure we.
Same pole, all right.
Tax free.
Okay, and that gives you a little more flexibility. It's granted now.
Okay.
I have one other question.
Okay.
Greg, do you have any more suggestions or comments on that?
Personally, I think I'd try to, if you're gonna update the whole thing, maybe the little guys could go.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
That's,
I'm done.
Okay, we've had a big to-do here some years ago, when I was still a commissioner, about the little men. So, I don't know what to say about the little men.
Well, now we won't have enough little men.
No, we won't, but.
and they're worn out, you know, and they look pretty rough.
It's a historic kind of a thing. They're there. Some people, many people said that the little men were degrading because they were little, and that dogs urinated on them, which that could happen, you know. And Mr. Fred Amon wanted us to raise them up and put them on pedestals. But we were afraid if we took them out, I think Mr. William went over there and dug up some pavers around to see if he could dig one up, and he was afraid if we tried to lift them up, they might break, they're old, they're cracked, they're worn. And one lady, we thought, well, maybe we'll just go ahead and remove them and just not have them, because so many people thought that they were, because they're small and you're looking down at them and they're not up on pedestals, the dogs are urinating, that it was, we thought, well, we'll just remove them. And another lady came and she did not want those things removed, and it was I don't know if she had WCTV down here or what, but they're there, they're still there now, and we decided that they would remain until they cracked and fell apart. So I don't know, you all, but we're in discussion on this item here for the Space Force to be included in the flag up to a maximum of $80,000. Do we have any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. Do we want to talk about the little soldiers, the little military men?
I don't.
You know you can't please everybody.
Well, to me, at this,
There's no way.
Commissioner Walden has a valid point, but to me, at this point, I don't know enough about the little men to make a informed decision. I would say, just without me knowing more, let's just kind of let things be as they are right now.
That's what I say.
And especially with the money that we're spending right now, to have something really nice to honor the veterans, let's just see what happens. And if we have to address it in the future, we'll address it.
Right. That's the way I feel about it. I mean, we're doing the best we can. We inherited, all this board here inherited that park as it, now we did.
I'm just trying to stir things up.
When we got the little, when we revamped the CRA, the park was in disarray. It had not been maintained in a long time, and we took all the blocks off. Courtney and Keisha got people to come in and sign up, and got new more commemorative bricks, brand new. Hired someone to put those up there. The pavers were all up and down. We got all the pavers relayed and put the bronze plaques. We put the bronze plaques up there because in place of the little men, because we thought we were removing the little statues. Well, come to find out, we didn't remove the little statues after all. But we did do a lot of rehab on that park back in about 2014, I think it was. And they went to a big trouble, staff and Miranda was included, to get those bricks replaced. And CRA funded that.
And I still have people wanting bricks.
Okay,
Thank you, Russell.
all right, so
All
we're
right,
moving
thank you.
forward on this one.
Don't spend any more money.
If y'all wanna go back to Ninth Street.
I beg your pardon?
If you wanna go back to Ninth Street, or y'all wanna do that later?
Okay, well, and now you've got my expense to budget, so what does it look like?
I'll pass this back around.
Okay.
I believe we're gonna have that, I believe we'll have that much, we'll have the 14,000. Right now, we've paid the 23, or what it was on there.
Let's see.
I highlighted it in orange.
Okay, thank you. Well, we've got 80, so that, we put 80, so that's gonna give us
Either
10,000.
80 or 110.
110, we got 80 left. Are you talking about next year or this past year?
Well, I was looking at next year, so, but I'm thinking because we're carrying forward, so what now, what are you saying for this year?
For this year,
For this year, we spent the 23, you just signed a check yesterday, 2 of them, one for 98,000, one for 86,000, so we've spent 184,992. There's $91,434 left in the contract, but the grant still has $213,000 that the grant's gonna pay, so that should leave us with, about $45,000.
In the grant?
No extra, out of the
Extra.
budget, CRA.
On that line item?
yes,
And that includes all of the extra paving?
Yes, we have spent to date
that's just
100
9th Street. That's
Just
not
Ninth Street.
the other libraries.
Okay, and
That's
so,
just 9th Street.
and
So to
we,
date, we've spent $184,992.73. We left owed $91,434.75.
Which is retainage.
Which comes to $276,426. The grant is gonna pay $213,000 of that. So that leaves, $63,426 out of the 100.
Out of the 80, because we both spent 23 of it. Out of 80.
So we budgeted this,
Mhm.
we spent this plus that 60 something, so then that'll leave the, minus the 86.
I believe we have 14.
What was the, 60, what was that figure?
I don't have any, 63, 14.
So basically 60 and the 25 would be 85, and then we had 110 budgeted, so we'd have,
but that was for that project, now we have all.
that
these
was just that project,
Uh-huh.
yes.
But we have all these other projects that we added on to.
That are under Second Street.
They're under their own line items, right?
No,
I mean, they're all under Second Street of that 50,000.
no, we added them all together here, let me see if I can find it. Sorry, y'all.
No,
Why don't
you're
we
good,
just
you're
say-
good, because I'm following you.
Why don't we just say,
Because
if the 14,000's in there, it's off the right.
I think
I'd
it's
have to
that
go
all
back.
the projects are gonna be $180,239.
Right, we had 110 in 9th Street, we had 50,000 in 2nd Street, which
Yeah.
we coupled, 67 library, we coupled a bunch of
Yeah.
them together.
Uh-huh.
And then you had the 110 just for 9th Street. And then we broke them down and grouped them small, in that smaller. And I think there was one other line item we had.
Well, we had Owens Avenue, Patch, and Mark Street.
So it's gonna be, but you said they've already done the work and now they want a change order?
Yeah, I think they
That's-
were trying to get it stabilized, you know.
trying to keep from losing the asphalt.
Are we
That's probably what
obligated?
And he, you know, he said he's just covering a little bit of labor and the materials that he put down.
Well, I didn't get up there to see it, but actually I'll have to say this, that I had a citizen call me that was walking for exercise, and they said that at one point, the asphalt was undermining, that it had already cut out from underneath the asphalt.
It had, and I know they were afraid that the whole road was just gonna take
right.
off.
Right.
So that was probably the urgency.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I feel like we can afford it. I mean, it's,
I do too.
okay.
Well, when we was adding it up, we wasn't considering the grant reimbursement. That's why we were bustling back and forth, and it was like, hold on, what are we missing?
Okay.
But the grant's gonna pay for 213,000.
All right, so we need a motion to
I think we've
approve.
got about 23,000 in there.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we cover the change order for 14,300.
All right, and we had that motion by Commissioner Brown to fund the change order for 14,300. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, and that motion carries.
And I'm assuming they're gonna be billing us this.
Yeah, they'll submit a formal, and we'll work that back through the CEI.
Will it be,
And to
in
make
this
it formal.
budget year?
I suspect it will.
You know, the CEI had a big list of things that they were saying.
Yeah.
for the reading.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so we have item number 4 under Mr. Russell's report is the report on cost of monster fish grinder for fish waste disposal at the Marine Street Fish Cleaning Station.
Okay, so, contacted the manufacturer, and this is the only unit that they manufacture. Port St. Joe just bought one, when I was speaking with them, and they're out in California, actually. And, they said they had just sold one to Port St. Joe, $85,000 is the cost. Yeah.
What does St. Joe do with the ground material?
I didn't look into that. Typically, a grinder will go to the sewer. So I'm sure that's what they're doing.
I thought there was some issues with, according to Charlie, about it going to the sewer.
He said that there was something. that
It kills the
changed.
bacteria.
Right.
Well,
He thought it would be an ammonia, it would form ammonia, but he's kind of speculating about that being as a
the
potential
last time
issue.
he said it may not be a problem,
Right.
but that's a lot.
Courtney, do you have that video? I found a video from Monster Fish Grinding, and this is the fish grinder that you just. Commissioner Miller said that was catfish. That's good.
A
So,
lot of good fish wasted there.
yeah.
I think you could sell it as fish pate.
So I put that there so we could all understand that that's a serious piece of equipment to put out in the public unsupervised. I know it.
I'm not in favor of having something like that out there.
I don't know,
So
you know.
if Fort St. Joe just put it at their dock.
They have a dock master, don't they?
I think they do. They've got, you know, last, one of these meetings, I showed their parking lot. That's just one of their boat ramps over there.
With the
They,
freezer.
I beg your pardon?
The one with the freezer.
Yeah, they're, and that, I just, we were by there last week, they've got another freezer. And on the eastern side of their, of Fort St. Joe, they've got, yes, they're starting up another location with another freezer. They've got some serious, fishing going on, big ramps, big parking places, and they've, you know, they've got tax dollars over there that we don't have, so.
Well, they're anticipating here in the next couple of years with all that housing development, a tremendous amount.
So,
They've got the room over there too. I mean, they've got a bunch of land, so.
Yeah, St. Joe is a contributor, a lot of that land over there, yeah.
but this is a serious, you know, it's a serious matter of what is happening with the fish, you know, the fish
What do we do
waste.
with it?
And it's causing litter, it's, you know, or fish to come, I mean, birds to come and they, you know, make a mess of the place. But they can't help themselves because the people are putting fish out there. Do we think it's helping, when we have Mr. Clay there on the weekends, do we know if it's helping to stop that fish disposal on the water? Do we know if he's, you know, he's there, he's like the dock master.
Yeah,
It's bringing him,
I
it's
haven't,
bringing him more funds, having him there.
Uh-huh.
But
I haven't inspected closely about the trimmings going over the side, but I haven't heard near as much from the public. And I actually personally hadn't observed anything, but I actually did not go there where they normally dump it over to the side from the.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I know we've had a lot of customers there.
We have a natural disposal down by my house.
Yes.
That pond, got buzzers that feed there. They do a good job.
But I think, you know, the fish cleaning sink, it seems like it was put there like a little community thing, not, you know, with the foresight that it was gonna be used as heavily as it's used. I mean, it's almost used commercially sometimes whenever people do their fundraisers, they come there with just cases and cases of fish to clean. It really gets used, and it's not set up like it really needs to be. It almost needs to be revamped or relocated or.
There's a couple of private fish cleaning stations along the river that takes a little bit of pressure off from us. And I know what they do there, but anyway, ours ours being the city's is a public facility. And those are more private, they catering strictly to their clients. So,
And they've got somebody like a marina master or something that, like Carrabelle Boat Club, you know, they use their fish waste for gardening,
yeah.
for their landscaping. But as far as I know, this is the only public fish cleaning station that's unsupervised in Franklin County.
To my knowledge, yes. I know of some other fish cleaning stations, but they do with whatever, yeah. But that grinding thing, I just definitely couldn't go for that in public like that, open like that.
And just not that even, but the maintenance that would be required on it.
That's what I kept thinking.
And who's gonna, you know, maintain all those
There's one soda can that goes down in there.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, that's very same pump, it's a wastewater application pump. And, I mean, the same grinding mechanism, it's the same pump. So the headworks of the St. Joe plant, top of the line equipment, they have one of those pumps at the headworks. So before it comes in, it goes through that grinder. It can handle a lot.
And didn't Mr. Charlie say they use those same kind of pumps?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Carrabelle has those. Yeah.
But it's still a little too much.
Yeah, and the cleaning of it. I mean, you could see that it was getting all gooey around the sides, so who's gonna be there to clean it?
Well, and it does have, like a table and water
Hoses.
hoses, so it, you know.
They just have to clean up after themselves, the users.
You think?
And then we would be.
Does it have safety? I mean, what?
Yes, at the, if you go to the top, okay. You see the red button at the top of the, above the pipe? Yeah,
Yes.
right there, right. That's the emergency shut off.
And the only way that it can get to the grinder is through that little tube?
Right, you have to put it through the tube.
Okay, because I was thinking it just all
Yeah,
fell in the
you
middle
can't.
there.
Right, you
Okay.
can't.
So the people feeding the grinder would not be exposed to the grinder?
No.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna say, that is one dangerous.
That would be bad, yes.
So it would have to be as small as that tube to get into the grinder.
Right, so you'd have to parse up your
Uh-huh.
waste to fit it in there, yeah.
How big is the tube?
You know, I'm not certain.
Well, for the offshore fish, which is usually the biggest thing, it'd have to be a good sized tube.
Well, they would have to piece it up.
Well, a head, piece up the body, but the head is be difficult to piece up.
Yeah, big amberjack might,
Big grouper.
yeah, or a grouper, yeah.
So we probably need to go back to the drawing board about.
And we'll put the little men there too, back to the drawing board, but, yeah, I mean, it's something, it's been off and on the agenda that I know for the past 11 years. What are we gonna do with this thing, this fish cleaning station? We've talked about, we've written the DEP, it was funded with a grant. The DEP said we could even remove it because we have such an issue with the waste disposal there. You know, so we could move it, we could remove it, we could go back to the drawing board. Courtney, do you think it's any better when Mr. Clay is there on the weekends, on the busy? Do you think, if they know there's a dock master, they probably don't throw over?
I don't go down there much on the weekends, so I don't know. I mean, I still see the fish waste that's being thrown down there, but I don't know if they're doing it on the weekends or if they're doing it during the week or after hours. He's down there until 3. So if they're coming in later in the afternoons.
Might have to have something where the power, if you ever did it, where the power would be off somehow on a timer, that the power would shut it off at certain times from dusk to dawn, or you know what I mean?
Now, I see when he's
That's
down
the
there, they're
dog.
paying their launch fees, we get more
That's
money
good.
when he's down there than when he's not. But I don't know about the fish place.
Well, let's keep it on the drawing board. And, you know,
Right now.
maybe somebody can think of something, how we can manage this.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I've already dealt with them things.
You have dealt with the fish grinders?
Well, it's at the prison.
Yeah,
A Muppet
it's
Monster?
it's
Oh, you've got them at the,
We had them at the work camp, so
Uh-huh.
the inmates throwing stuff in the, chewed all that stuff up. When they throw a sheet in it, or something that, as
Rags.
long as it's fish, fine, meat, yeah. But when you see it there, it's gonna wrap up them rags. You got to go in there, pull them teeth out, clean all that mess out. It's, it'll work, don't get me wrong, it'll work, as long as it's used properly. But I'm not sure down there it'd ever be used properly.
That's
You will have people throwing stuff in there that ain't supposed to be there.
the same thing happens at the St. James Rehab.
Yeah.
There's a special fish, not a fish grinder, but a grinder pump out there at their lift station. And it's so bad that they have an agreement now with the sewer department that when they have to go out there and change, maybe replace the pump completely, the rehab facility pays for it, pays for all that, or the overtime, or whatever, because they put so many rags and employees, different stuff in there.
Somebody was to come out, put a piece of steel in there, and it get in them teeth, it's gonna be bad. And you talk about buying another head, cause that thing gonna be expensive. I don't think that.
Beer cans.
If you had somebody there every day, make sure that was all that went in there, but that ain't gonna happen down here.
And then close it, certain hours it's open and then close it.
Yeah, the purchase of it's not the only cost.
It's a lot of maintenance in that thing. It's not used properly. I've already dealt with them, I know.
Okay, all right, so we'll just put this one on hold for now?
It's a good idea, but
Okay. All right, just a little food for thought, literally.
Yeah.
Mr. Russell, thank you so much for your investigation. We appreciate it. Okay. So is there anything else for Russell? Did we have something on
We were gonna ask him, the flagpoles were one, if he could give us a quote on the flagpoles, to have him look back into the flooding issue for Oxendine, also
Yes.
11th Street.
Okay. And a report on our other paving project.
And Russell, would you have any idea what we could do about the flooding on 11th Street? Is that an easy fix, or is that gonna be a big?
I do remember we had put together a little concept plan for what to do there. And it involves some, a lateral ditch along the east side of the roadway, and then there's a cross drain, which I think someone uncovered within the last 4 or 5 years. But we weren't sure where that pipe went, so. And we still don't, so maybe we can, and we got the old DOT plan.
And they jetted it and cleaned it till they got to a certain point, and then it stopped, and the guy didn't wanna go any further. It was the guy that you gave me that comes down.
Oh, yeah, Churchill.
Churchill.
Okay.
And he didn't wanna go any further because he was scared that it would blow out that road, driveway.
And I believe he would.
Okay. Well, in that case, then we could, we would have to install a cross drain. And then, I'm not sure, but we connect it out to the river at some point. But we can look into that. We can look into that.
I have a question for you, Mr. Russell. And you did, to my memory, I don't know to what detail or how far you went with it after Avenue B was paved and the curb and gutter was put up. That came to light, and it seems like you did look at that because they expressed to me that they were more concerned about the water coming down Avenue B, running across Ryan Drive and across the road and down into the property more so than they were that area you just described where the culvert, Courtney, that Dustin tried to get. So it seems like what they described is since Avenue B has the curb and gutter, the water on the road is channeled right straight down across Ryan Drive, and there's not much any disbursement going off on the shoulders. So it increases the volume of water going across Ryan Drive onto the property.
But it would only be from 10th Street back because 10th Street flows out, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So it would just be that block.
That's correct.
Right, and actually what it is, and I've been out there in the pouring rain to watch it.
Yeah.
10th Street, if you go from Ryan Drive up to Avenue B, it's a little hill to get to 10th Street. 10th Street is raised, and that is not in a flood zone at all. 10th Street is like an island. When you look at the flood zones, it's about the middle of that block, just on the other side, on the east side of Mr. Ellis's property. About the middle of that block, it starts flowing back down to the west.
Correct.
And the rest of it flows to the east, and where it's supposed to flow into a culvert, into a drain. So.
Well, and you see how high the Pickett's Landing had to build in their new section, they're probably gonna have to even be 3 or more feet higher than those ones.
It seems like it doesn't cross the road until it gets down to about Lysette, then it starts running over.
Right.
Yeah.
And Greg and I have been down there countless times and watched it. And then Courtney, see the little triangle shaped piece right there, that belongs to someone else, that's not the DOT. And so I don't know the route that we would take to get to the water, or would we hook up to the, try to.
Well, you still have right of way.
But the river's to the west there, otherwise you'd be.
That was my thought, and I would suspect that cross drain, at one time went in that direction towards the river.
Now, what does that mean, cross drain?
If it goes under the roadway, so I think it's about right here. And I think that came over in this direction at some point and discharged to the river.
So you would have to capture the water coming from wherever it comes from, even off of those non-pervious rooftops. You know, the water's coming off of that rooftop right there, right on the front of, to the right, that big one. It pours off of there down onto the street and across the street.
And I always understood that the issue originally before Ave B was that basically the runoff would come to this point, and that cross drain was blocked, and it would come over the road, come over the crown of the road. Property. That's what I understood.
That happens. It does.
And you're right, that was an issue.
And they're getting some water extra off of 10th Street and the sidewalk, but only about half of 10th Street and the sidewalk. Otherwise, all the other water that comes has been there always. I mean, I've always seen flooding going down there.
Yeah, there's also a discharge pipe, I think it may be closer to this corner, somewhere along this wall. That's a DOT pipe. So maybe there's an opportunity to come across 98 and connect into that discharge, connect into the DOT system which discharges there. That might be an option too.
It sounds expensive.
Yeah.
It does.
Because you wouldn't go across, you'd have to go under.
And they wouldn't let you open cut it. So you
Yeah.
Well, remember now, we're gonna have Highway 98 paved in the next 3 or 4 years.
Would it be easier to replace this pipe going under the road?
It sure would.
And connect into this
Yeah.
here? I mean, right now it may be blow out the road, but if you could.
That would be cheaper, that's a better solution. And I think we could argue that's what it did at some point in history. I'll see if we can find some.
But is it going on that piece of private property, that triangle?
Probably under it.
Yeah. Well, and we could, the rest of that property there's DOT, right? Right there?
Yes, that is.
Yes.
Okay. So if we could get to that corner, it would be a drainage connection permit from DOT, but I think that's the solution.
How much does that cost?
Yeah.
Are we talking 200,000 or more?
$5,000.
5,000.
Let's see.
We're having
Ryan-
another budget meeting Tuesday, so if we're trying to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan Drive, that cross drain replacement was, what was it?
160 or something.
160, yeah, so the split. So it'd probably be in that range. With today's
So
prices.
Keisha's suggestion might
But that's just.
If not
cross drain.
more,
We still
with
have
it
to
being
run
DOT permitting.
And I think
Oh,
we,
yeah.
once we
On
got,
98.
once we got beyond the, on the west side of 11th, we put that in the concrete ditch channel. That's what I would.
That's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
The complaint is that the water, and I've seen it too, that it just runs down across the street over on his property. We've got right of way in there, even as a temporary measure, is there any way to do swales or something along the road?
On what side?
I mean, we've got on his side. I mean,
On the east side,
catch it
yeah.
as it's coming across, both sides. We can just do something that'll hold it, attenuate it, percolate it.
I don't know, but I've watched water go down there. We've owned that house since 2002. And even before that, and when that building was just one little small restaurant there, we would watch water pour down there from everywhere else. And it's just a low spot, it can't help itself.
It's like a hole.
Yeah.
I don't have it is so low.
And actually across the street from us, where it's the public housing now, that was a lake years ago. That, you know, just trying to tell you how low it is there naturally.
Between his property and the sidewalk.
Because it's really during rain events, he's got a problem, it's not wet normal.
It's just heavy rain.
Just
Yeah.
heavy rain.
I mean, and that property sits in a hole.
Yeah.
He almost needs a retention on that in his portion.
You know, I'm just thinking outside the box. I wonder if there would be, you know, some on-site improvements that we could do and just maybe get a drainage easement for Mr. Oxendine to capture the runoff and then carry it off of his property. Maybe, I'm just thinking.
Or even
of a cheaper solution.
Cheaper,
solve the
might
problem.
even purchase that far lot to put a retention pond on.
Up here,
Yeah.
Yeah, that wooded lot.
it's clear up here.
And they
That's kind of
capture
blue.
the water that they say is going.
It's coming out
off
and,
10th
you
Street.
know, that would still be cheaper than putting a big culvert in for, you know,
Who owns that lot down
Right there, that's.
We're talking right here on the top.
uh-huh.
there? That wooded lot
That's part of the that's part of
between the Oxidines and the apartments
What are we talking about?
What's that,
Further to the
to the west.
Here?
No, south.
Oh,
That's, that's
that
12.
triangle?
Yeah, that's 12th Street.
This.
That's 11, that's 12.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
we've,
you know, something like a retention pond is something to think about. You could, right there where they have that road they're coming in, that is, you could go in the middle, you know, of where the alleyway would be. And you could tell where the alleyway would be across the street. You can look across the street behind the housing and purchase, you know, that block or half a block or something and put a retention pond there to capture the water that they say is coming off
Coming
10th
off.
Street.
I don't suppose you could raise the grade of the road, that would probably cost a fortune.
I mean, we have something going down 12th Street, right?
Yeah,
Could
I
we
was thinking
route
if
it
you could
across?
There's a ditch and it runs through the river.
No, I'm talking about down B, if we could get it, go straight across B and then down 12th Street.
Yeah, I'm following.
But,
But there, I think it's a hill, I think it goes up both ways.
I think you still have the issue here.
Yeah, so it runs across the road right there. So doing something up north, I don't think that's gonna change anything. I think somehow it's coming, well, it does come down the road though, it comes from the north. But I don't know how you get it to not go across the road, you know, to go across the road if you wanted to, unless you'd have a culvert under the road.
Or without repaving the road so that it crowns
Right.
to run it.
That'd really be a good one, if you could raise the grade of the road and then put some sort of drainage on the east side, but that's gonna cost a lot of money.
Yeah, and the grade drops off pretty hard right here. So if we were to put a ditch over this, on that side, we would have to construct a ditch, come back up, and then tie down, so it would be on his property by the time we tie that slope.
Keisha did mention mentioned earlier, just to raise their buildings, that would be less expensive, put their buildings on islands.
Is there an inlet down here that goes straight across?
The one building is raised. The one building is up. You have to go up a ramp, and it probably met flood at the time it was built. Now, it's probably a little bit higher now. But the other building was a temporary shed. It was a storage shed for the restaurant that got built on as a pole barn that's got closed in, that's turned into, you know, it's.
A shop, I think.
Yes.
Mhm. And then the light colored roof on the back, that was added on, and it's on the ground, it's not raised.
Raised,
And I
right.
think, from some pictures that were sent to me in the past, I think that's the restrooms for the main, or for them, or for the people that work outside or something, and that floods.
So is that the one that they're complaining floods the bathroom?
When they said the bathroom floods, yeah, I believe that, and they've sent me pictures in the past that it's
I
that.
think it's both of these, this and this, but not the main building. I think it's everything on the ground.
No, I do not see an inlet on that corner, Corey. There's just that one head wall. I think that's gonna be the low point of the profile of the road. If we shot a profile of the road, where that cross drain is, I suspect that's gonna be the low point. Where it piles up and comes over the road.
If he gave us, could he give
Now,
us
is it
a little
going-
easement to put a retention on that north corner?
I think,
Northeast corner?
I don't think,
Is that one?
yeah, I mean,
Is the water going down their back driveway? Is that what they're saying?
It runs across.
Behind the bathroom? Or in the front?
And
I think in the front.
well, can I suggest this? Why don't I'll set up a meeting with Mr. Oxendine, and Courtney can, whoever can come, and we'll just find out exactly what he thinks the issue is. Where's the problem? And then from that point, we'll address what he thinks the problem is, more specifically.
Okay, and
About
now,
that.
we put extra money in the budget under your line item to, to look into it, to do an analysis, which you just said you were gonna do. And that would be part, like, an analysis when you go and meet with Mr. Oxendine and see what he identifies as the issue, the main issue. And then to develop some plans or some alternatives and maybe a scope of work, something like that, so that we can get a better idea.
All right. Okay. And is there an issue with this being a county road?
That's the thing.
That's actually what I wasn't gonna say it, but that's actually what kind of not put the brakes on, so it kind of slowed things down.
Yeah, God, I keep thinking of the parking we're dealing with north of there.
They have been, the property owners should know, they've been advised many times in the past that this roadway is in dispute, but
That is not
it's the
solving the
city's,
problem.
but somehow it's the city's fault, and must be because the water's been identified coming off of 10th Street.
We can certainly ask, I think it's a good idea to have Russell go out and kind of diagnose, so we understand the problem, and then certainly we can encourage Mr. Oxendine to complain to the county as well, and see if they can chip in and help out with whatever solution we come up with, just like we did on the
On Ryan
Further up
Drive
on
program.
Drive. Thought about that too.
Whatever works.
Okay. So is that all right for you all? Okay. For Mr. Russell to proceed in that manner? All right then.
And then we talked about the resurfacing of Gray Avenue and them being sinkholes, and if, whether or not that was maybe some sewer pipe that had, or vac system that had been removed.
Okay, I'll investigate. I'll begin to investigate that. Okay.
Those
three things I had noted.
Yes, and the Ryan Drive, we had mentioned that before, between Barefoot Lane and 12th Street. And when I was coming back east today, it doesn't seem like it's on the north side of Ryan Drive, I mean, not Gray Avenue,
It's just on the south.
on the south side. And Keisha had mentioned that some vacuum pipes, pumps, not pumps, but pipes. maybe
Abandoned.
There might be an issue
A lot of
there.
times we see it,
Right.
cause it,
Right.
the road to settle, cause it
Yeah.
fills up the pipes with the sand.
And Commissioner Melander said he doesn't believe it's at the culvert area exactly. It's like before and after
That's
the
right.
culvert there.
Right across it on your Ford truck, you'll feel it.
Going from east to west.
No, ma'am, from west to east. Be on that lane.
On the south lane or the east, on the south or the north?
South lane.
Okay, south lane.
Okay. Yeah, on east of the high school?
No, it's west of the high school.
Is it?
No, ma'am, it's east.
Oh, that's right, it sure is. Excuse me.
Somewhere in the culvert area.
This side, our side, this side.
Over here, Barefoot Lane and 12th Street.
All right.
There you go.
I'll go look at that after the meeting.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on forward then to our CRA board projects. Is that all right?
Just a quick question on our other paving projects, the library and Market Street, and Owens Avenue.
Right, right. I think it was about a month, maybe a month ago, they said they were gonna mobilize within the following week,
Right.
and that hasn't happened yet.
Okay. That's all I have was a question about that. I didn't hear it mentioned.
I've asked again today, to let me know when they're gonna do that. I hadn't heard back yet.
Yesterday, Ms. Sabrina and I signed some really large checks, you know, close to 100,000, over 100 to them. So maybe we'll see some action now. It was 2 or 3 checks, I can't remember.
Okay.
Very large checks.
Good deal.
Okay.
So, all right, so maybe we'll see them soon.
Thank you.
Then we'll move on forward now to our CRA board projects. Item 1, discussion of possible action regarding the CRA 2021-2022 expense to budget. And that's what we were just looking at, or the staff was, regarding funding of that extra $14,300. But do we need to review that, or have y'all had an opportunity to review it? And I had it here now, I've got it all shuffled in with all my other stuff, and I don't know if I can find it again. But we're doing good on it. I mean, honestly, I can't find it.
I have it up on the screen.
Okay, there you go. So as you can see, we're really right where we should be. Our maintenance and repair is actually, our projections went over because we bought the Sands Park playground equipment and we're repairing Messer Pavilion. But everything else is in line. We didn't use all of the Façade grant money there, as you can see. And then the next page, we had money left over. We did budget $15,000 for the parking lot cleanup at the Public Works, but we're working on that now with boat ramp fees. And the alleyway, thank goodness, Consolidated is doing, Duke Energy is doing that. So, I mean, it's pretty much self-explanatory, y'all been looking at them every month. All right. We'll move on, if you don't have anything else, we'll just move on to our budget now, to review that again. And, Courtney, I had my computer ran out of power. I didn't know I was so low on power, I couldn't bring my plug. So we'll just do the best we can. But you've got the one right there that we worked on already.
Did we want to change, what did we do for the
Flagpole,
flagpole?
we changed it from 90 to 80. Is that what you're asking?
You don't want to change that? or you
Earlier,
wanna-
we had said 90, but then we motioned to make it 80 to 80.
Y'all want to change?
Well,
that?
motion to spend 80, it wasn't to change
The budget.
the
But,
budget.
I mean, we can. if
You
want
can,
to.
but yeah.
Or we could leave it, because you know how things change. And that'll give us a little bit of wiggle room, because sometimes. I see.
And we left, how much for Barefoot Lane, but we had talked about 18,155.
18,155, but we do have some more.
And Sands Park fencing, $25,000. Now, the fencing at Tilly Miller, that was a 5-foot fence. Over here, I think it's only a 4-foot fence right now at Sands Park. And we did a 5-foot because we were trying to keep vandals out of the park facility. If this is a 4-foot, we could probably replace this with a 4-foot. We don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have to go up.
It's mostly to keep dogs out and children in off the highway.
And it's right on 98, so we don't have a lot of vandalism down
Yeah,
there because
especially
it's
with the new
visible.
lights.
It's very well lit.
And then Russell, we put $75,000 to the Marine Street renovations to try to help some. Now, we might have an extra 10 or so from the Vets Park that we can put in there if we need to. That project may take more than a year.
Which project?
The CDBG, the Marine Street renovations, do you?
It already has.
Oh, yeah, well, has it even started? What's the deadline for that thing
It hasn't
Okay.
started, so.
Oh, so there's
we
no,
don't-
the deadline hasn't been set?
Right.
Completion, okay. All right. So, you know, it may be that we don't even need that 75 next year on that. It might be that we've got to put it in again the year.
May have to roll it ahead for the next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do y'all have any other, I mean, we can, you know, move things around like we have before, and at the end of the year, then we have to make the final amended budget. Is that correct, Ms. Keisha?
Yes.
And we'll be doing that with this year's budget
Right.
in November. So do you all have any other?
Or you can amend it anytime during the year.
Yeah, okay.
Only have one thought, and I've thrown this out before. It's not a minor thing. Long-range thought, you ladies are going to the CRA, if you will, workshop or training. I still would love to see us start up, and I don't know how to, and Courtney and I had this conversation yesterday, really how to approach it. It's been mentioned before, the mayor has mentioned that to put money in the budget or roll money in the budget where you have a proposed project, 3-year project or whatever it is, 4-year, 5-year. I would like to see us start putting some money into a project And one thing that comes to mind to me real quick, other than, and I had mentioned, I'd love to see us start that working waterfront in partnership with some of the private landowners. I would love to see that begin. If we don't begin, it won't ever happen. And the other thing I was thinking about was trying to start a land acquisition funding for parking. Parking's just gonna increasingly get worse and worse and worse and worse. And I know we're limited on space, we're limited on area. I've looked and thought and looked, and I know you guys have too. But I would like for us to consider and come up, may have to have a workshop to come up with a project to start putting money in an account for a future project of that nature. And that's it. I don't have anything else detailed to say other than I'd like to see us think about that.
I would like to see both of those things happen, acquire
Yeah.
land for parking and the working waterfront.
Did you all read the article in the paper about the boardwalk that's going to be part of the new, where they're rehabbing Caroline's down on the river and the new marina that they're building? But that is a developer that has come in and they're going to build a boardwalk there. But that developer owns that private property and they're going to do that in conjunction with their marina, their marina. Also, I understand from a TDC director over in East Point where their pavilion used to be, now the county has acquired so much land over there, and TDC may buy a small lot across the street from the waterfront for parking, but the county owns approximately 750 linear feet on the bay. And what the TDC director wants to eventually do is the TDC fund a boardwalk over there, and then it would be two properties in between the county's property and the Anner property. And if those two properties there wanted to join in on the boardwalk, then they could. But you know, it works better if the government wants to fund it, the government has the property. Now, I can bring a picture to show you, and you all may have seen it, St. John's Pass down near St. Petersburg, Clearwater. That is one of the biggest water boardwalks in Florida, and all of that is owned by one developer. So it's really, you've got to get your one property owner. It's not a public boardwalk. It's owned by one property owner. And the same in Destin, that is a property owner that owns that boardwalk where you walk by all of those marinas. So that's something where you've got to somehow get your property owners and your marina owners to want to invest in that, to have boardwalks.
And it keeps it on the tax roll.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. And again, I'm on the same page with you, but somehow, and I don't know how to explain it other than I'd like to see somehow it kind of get off the ground and start moving and working. And it's going to take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight. But if there's any way that government could assist with grants or anything
Like the
else.
Façade grants, but for this working waterfront.
To help encourage it and move it along. If we begin, it may happen. If we don't begin, it won't ever happen. That's just my feeling. So, and the other thing, like I said, and Courtney and I have talked about it quite a few times, is the purchase of property for parking. And I know property, especially in that area down there, is expensive, but it's not going to get any better. And we're actually going, and we're going to need more and more parking. But anyway, that's just my thought on doing some things like that. And we couldn't fund, big, large, $1 million projects out of our CRA budget, but we could start something and work toward it. Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, then, back to this budget, are we going to, do we want to go ahead and approve this budget, or work on it some more, or what do you all think here? Right now is the time to make any other revisions on it that you want to for now. Because once we approve it, we're going to, even though we're the commission except for Ms. Chisholm, we can't finalize it, we have to recommend this budget to the city commission for approval at our budget hearings. So are we wanting to make any changes, or do we want to stick with what we've got for now?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as we discussed at the morning meeting.
Okay, do you want to just make one motion and approve for recommendation to the commission?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know how it needed to be worded.
Okay. And then, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Keisha, that was Commissioner Brown, and second by Commissioner Melander to approve for recommendation to the commission. Do we have any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. All right. Let's move forward to other items brought by the CRA board members, which would be the Riverfront Boardwalk. And then, do we have anything else we need to discuss? Anything else? I'll tell you, our next meeting is September the 20th, 2022 at 1:30. Is there anything else? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion with adjourn. I think the place.
Do we have a second? That motion is by Commissioner Walden. Is there a second? Okay, and second by Ms. Chisholm. Is there any other discussion on adjourning? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? And that motion carries, and very good discussions today.